So we are going to talk about, because in order to write an equation, we are always going to try to put it into y equals mx plus b form, which should be pretty familiar by this point in time in our math career. When you look at an equation, here's an equation, how do you identify what the slope is? Or where the slope is? Looking at that equation that you wrote at the top, y equals mx plus b, where would you find the slope, Irina? Yeah, the number in front of the x. So it's the coefficient of x. The number in front of the variable x is the slope. The number in front of the variable x is the slope. When you're given a table, and if you need to see an example, like here's a table, how do you find the slope when given a table? How do you find the slope when given a table? If you do not know the answer off the top of your head, you can look back in your table of contents to page 33. How do you find slope from a table? How do you find the slope when you're given a table of values? You could turn back the pages to page 33 if you don't remember how to find slope from a table. The change in y over the change in x. The change in y over the change in x. If you're given a graph, if you have a line on a graph, how do you find the slope? If you have a graph, for example, over here, rise over run. Perfect. All right, so that's how you identify the slope from these three forms. The intercept is usually the starting point of the graph. If you're given an equation up here, y equals mx plus b, how do you know which one is the intercept in the equation? It's the plus or minus b, right? That's called the constant. It's the number being added or sometimes subtracted. What if there's nothing there? What if there is no number being added or subtracted? What number means it's not there? Zero. How do you find the intercept from a table? Go back to page 33 if you need it. How do you find the intercept from a table? How do you find the intercept from a table? Maybe not. It's the y value when x equals 0. It's the y value when x equals 0. So like if I'm looking at this table, here's x is 0, so what's my intercept? $6.25. It's the y value when x equals 0. Where's the y-intercept on a graph? Where's the y-intercept on a graph? Where's the y-intercept on a graph? Looking here, where would the y-intercept be? Looking down here, where would the y-intercept be? How do you find the y-intercept on a graph? No, that slope is rise over run. Where it crosses what? Where it crosses the y-axis? That's where the y-intercept is. The y-intercept is where the graph crosses the y-axis. A proportional functions have a y-intercept of 0. That's the origin. We look for it to start at 0, 0 to determine is it proportional. All right, let's talk. Luke's family goes to the movies and purchases a large popcorn. They are debating whether or not to purchase any drinks. The table below shows how much they'll spend based on the number of drinks they purchase. Here's a table. What's the slope? Raise your hand. Who can tell me? How do you find slope from a table? Gage, how do you find slope from a table?
The change in y over the change in x.
Perfect. So we're going to find the difference from $6.25 to $10. You need a calculator? Have your calculator in your hand? You are going to need to find the difference from $6.25 to $10. What is the increase? What is the change in y? $3.75, yes? Okay. Now let's find the change in x. To 1 plus 1. Let's double check just to make sure it's constant. It should be, but let's just double check. Let's go from $10 to $13.75. What was that increase? $3.75. And from 1 to 2, what was that change? So is it equal? Is this linear? Yeah, and it's linear because y over x is the same thing, is equal to y over x. So what's the slope? $3.75 over 1. The change in y over the change in x. What's the intercept? How do you find the intercept from a table? It's the y value when x equals 0. It's the y value when x equals 0. So $6.25. And I'm going to write the equation. Remember, y equals, what does m stand for? Slope. And what's b? Y-intercept. So y equals, what was my slope? 375. Do I need it to be over 1? Doesn't matter. Does it change if it's over 1? No. $3.75 x plus what? $6.25. What does the slope represent in this situation? Use the labels in the table to tell me, what does $3.75 over 1 mean? What are the labels that would go with that? What are the labels? The slope is $3.75 over 1. What labels? What does it represent in the situation? That means, what are the labels? What words? There you go. 1 drink is $3.75. What does the y-intercept represent? It starts at $6.25. Why did it start at $6.25? My problem begins, my total cost with 0 drinks is $6.25. Why? What does that $6.25 mean? Isabella? What else did they buy? You're right. It is what else they bought. They started out buying what? Yeah. 1 large popcorn. You got it. All right, let's go to number 2 and try it out. Number 2, Betty's Bakery uses a chocolate chip cookie recipe that calls for a certain ratio of brown sugar to butter. What's the slope? How do you find slope from a graph? Rise over run. So from one dot to the next dot? Oh, look, there are dots on here already for me. Isn't that nice? 1, 2, 3. Ladies and gentlemen, should I double check? Is it counting by ones? Okay, so we're okay. 1, 2, 3 over 1, 2, 3, 4. What's my slope? 3 over 4. What's my y-intercept? What's my y-intercept? Where does it cross the y-axis? 0. Let's write the equation. Y equals mx plus b. Y equals, what's my slope? 3/4 x plus b. What's my intercept? Ashley, do you need to come move back here? I could put plus 0. Do I have to? What does the slope represent in this situation? Tell me the labels for 3 and 4. 3 and 4. What are my labels for 3? What does 3 represent? Yep, 3 is my vertical. So cups of brown sugar. Over, what does 4 represent? Cups of butter. What does 0 represent? 0 is my intercept. What does 0 represent? It represents nothing. But what about nothing? What if I used 0 cups of brown sugar? How many cups of butter would I use? 0. It means that I start out with nothing in the bowl, right? 0 cups and 0 cups, right? That's the ordered pair. Means my bowl starts empty. This is proportional because it starts at 0, 0. Was number 1 proportional? Does it start at 0, 0? No, this is not proportional. This one is because it starts at 0, 0. Starts at the origin. Number 3, a plane uses a certain amount of fuel based on the number of miles it travels. There's my plane. Is this proportional? It starts at 0, 0. Perfect. Which one is the X? Top. Good. And this one's my Y, correct? What's my slope? Change in Y over change in X. What's my slope? Change in Y over change in X. Good. 156 over 30. Do you think that might simplify? Yeah. Try it. Does 156 over 30 simplify?
26 over 5.
26 over 5. Do you agree with it, her? Okay. And then you could make that even more into a decimal? Yeah? Both are fine. I'm going to stick with 26 over 5 just because that makes graphing a little bit easier. If I was comparing it, I'd want the decimal, right? So my slope is 26 over 5. What's my y-intercept? How do you find the y-intercept from a table?
0.
When the x value is 0, the y value is your intercept. So this one is, can we write the equation?
Yeah.
Y equals, what's the slope? 26 over 5, x, what?
0.
Plus 0. Do you need the plus 0? Does it change it if you put it? What does the slope represent? Give me my labels. 26 over 5. 26 what? Over 5 what? 26 miles traveled for what? 5 gallons of gas. What does the y represent? My ordered pair, my y-intercept is 0, 0. What does that mean? 0 miles, 0 gallons. And this is proportional because it starts at 0, 0. Robert pays for his family to go bowling. So kind of Robert. First he rents shoes for everybody. And then he pays a certain amount per game that his family plays as shown in the graph below. What is the slope? How do you find slope from a graph? Rise over run. All right, I'm going to zoom way in. It might get a little shaky. This point and this point. See how they cross? Right? You're not going to pick something in the middle. You want something that's perfect. All right, let's count. Ooh, what's it counting by? threes. So 3, 6, 9. Correct? It's counting by threes. How many is it counting over by? Ones. So that's just 2. Do you agree? The slope is 9 over 2. If I was comparing it, I'd convert it to a decimal, yes? But I'm not comparing. I'm just writing the slope. What's the y-intercept? Where does it start? 12. Let's write the equation. Y equals 9 over 2x plus 12. Good. What does the slope represent? 9 what? 12 what? $9 for 2 games. Perfect. What does the y-intercept mean? Because the y-intercept is 0, 12. Yes? What does 0 represent? Nothing. 0 games. So where did this 12 come from? Yeah, $12 for shoes.